I guess as I get older, I become more cynical, more jaded. I tend to skew more to the negative, trying to poke holes in things, being devil's advocate. That kind of happens. But let's be honest here, I'm not the only individual that falls into that category. As we get older, we tend to skew to the more jaded, the more cynical, the more negative perspective. It's human nature. It's the easier thing to do. In a lot of ways, it's a more comfortable thing for us to do. And I know from my perspective, I talk about it often, just how out of touch I feel the WWE today and Vince McMahon in particular are as an organization and as a company on several different levels. And I sometimes maybe make the assertion that Vince McMahon, or present the idea anyways, that Vince McMahon is more out of touch than he ever has been. And every time I say that, and every time I start to think that, I think about the WWF of the mid 1990s and I say, no, 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 that was worse. It was bad. Now, the reason I say that is at this time, like getting into SummerSlam 1995, you would sit there and have these characters that were basically an attempt to recapture the magic of a decade ago, a time that this type of stuff really worked. It was a more innocent time, if you will, for the country. What the WWF was doing was much more in lockstep with what mainstream society was. And that was great back in 1985. But now you get to 1995 and you're trying to do these same childish, corny, hokey, stupid characters and sometimes stupid, hokey, corny storylines that weren't matching the reality of the times. You have all these different things going on in the world in the mid 90s, and what the WWF was doing was not resonating on several different levels. And that's why this was such a bad time for the company and for the wrestling business as a whole. It was desperately searching for its foothold, it was desperately searching for an identity, it was desperately searching for a way to rekindle and respark and refire up that mainstream magic that they had enjoyed for several years. And shows like SummerSlam 1995 show you just how out of touch the WWF was at the time. Excuse me. Now, with that said, there was some good stuff on this show. It's just when I go back and watch it, I sit there and I say, oh, this was fucking stupid. I say, oh my God, this was fucking stupid. Oh my God, these guys are fucking stupid. Now, this is kind of cool, but yet this is also fucking stupid. And it's just all this different corny, hokey crap. And I'll talk about it here and you'll get what I'm saying is I'll actually go through the whole match card in a little bit of detail here with this review. And it's just, ugh. Like you open up with Hakushi and the 1-2-3 Kid, excuse me. The 1-2-3 Kid. Hakushi. And they had a hard on for Hakushi at this time. I never liked Hakushi. I never got Hakushi. Maybe I was supposed to get the Woochie Woochie for Hakushi, and I just never did. And I thought it was stupid the way they always tried to push him down your freaking throat at this time, like it was some God's great gift of Japanese wrestling or something. Who knows? Maybe it fucking was. I don't know, and I don't care. I just know I didn't have any interest in him back in the mid 90s. Solid match here between Hakushi and the 1-2-3 Kid, but again, Hakushi versus the 1-2-3 Kid. If I said something to you that spoke to what the WWF was in 1995, those two character names right there might do it for you. Or Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Sparkplug Bob Holly. The next match might do the same damn thing for you. This is when, Hunter was getting his groove on as part of the Clique, and he was getting a nice push from the WWF. They had brought him over from WCW. They made him this Connecticut blue blood, and it took him years, apparently, to figure out that instead of saying Hunter Hearst Helmsley, let's just say Triple H. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Every time you'd watch one of his matches, you go back and watch him, and you'd hear that name 30, 40 fucking times and get annoying. It's like, Hunter Hearst Helmsley does this. Hunter Hearst Helmsley has a huge nose. Hunter Hearst Helmsley will someday be God. Hunter Hearst Helmsley will someday do this. Hunter Hearst Helmsley hits him with the pedigree. Hunter Hearst Helmsley is going to become the Intercontinental Champion. Hunter Hearst, Hunter Hearst, Hunter Hearst. Oh, good Lord. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Sparkplug Bob Holly. A lot of you don't like hardcore Holly, and that's fine. You think he's boring. You think he's dumb. But he had to put up with some dumb shit. And Sparkplug Bob Holly was fucking stupid. Oh, but it gets worse. The Smoking Guns versus the Blue Brothers. Oh, God. Bart and Billy Gunn, we're the Smoking Guns. This again is WWF 1995. That's all I could say. One match of kind of note of interest here is that one of the most legendary jobbers in the history of the WWF, Barry Horowitz, actually got a little bit of a push for some reason in the summer of 1995, culminating with a match here at SummerSlam against Skip. Now just think about that for a second, against Skip from the Body Donnas. Barry Horowitz won. I don't care if it was by hook or by crook interference or not. Barry Horowitz fucking won a Big Four pay-per-view match. That's outstanding. It was even more outstanding when they had Barry Horowitz tried to talk and they realized that we had him as a job relations for a reason. Let's get him off the fucking mic because he sucks. Fucking Barry Horowitz. Barry Horowitz ruled. And this match ruled. Just be able to go back. And every time I go back and watch his pay-per-view just to see Barry Horowitz on my TV and see Barry Horowitz actually win a match. It's outstanding. And then the women's championship match. Bull Nakano versus Alundra Blaze. This was not. This was Bertha Faye versus Alundra Blaze. Oh, God bless Bertha Faye. Gone, but definitely not forgotten, at least by me. Yeah, this match happened. Harvey Whippleman was always stupid. I think he's still stupid. I never got what Harvey Whippleman's deal or shtick was. I just always thought he was stupid. Plain and simple. Um, I will say, when you look past some of the stupid gimmicks and some of the stupid characters and some of the hokiness and corniness of the product at the time, you would still get some, diamonds in the rough. You'd still get some gems in terms of matches that would jump up and surprise you. And actually, I will say this is that most of the rest of the card was pretty solid. You pretty much got what you could expect at most, or maybe even exceeding your expectations out of each of the last four matches. You start off with The Undertaker versus Kama in the casket match. This is kind of whole part of Undertaker's feud against Ted DiBiase's Money Incorporated or Money Million Dollar Corporation, whatever you wanted to call it back then. He had the match with King Kong Bundy at WrestleMania 11, and now you get to Kama here at SummerSlam 95, and actually a solid casket match. And, this whole thing here, it goes back to Kama having the urn and all of this and all of that. This was really good. And, it was one of those things where occasionally the WWF could do something corny but still make it work in a kind of hokey way. And this match did work. And, at the time, be able to get this type of match out of Kama was a pretty good thing, which is, I guess, when you go back and watch it, shows you why Undertaker has the type of respect that he has in the locker room for all the years of having to do matches like this and storylines like this and being able to make things like this work. This was a good, solid match. And ironically enough, so was the next one, Bret Hart versus Isaac Yankem. Jerry Lawler's dentist, I guess. This is this whole crap of 2 years in the making of the Bret Hart Jerry Lawler feud. Oh, fucking Christ. How terrible. And what a shame that you're wasting Bret Hart on another SummerSlam show. It's not like 93 where he's wrestling Doink and freaking Jerry Lawler. Now in 95, you're sitting there and you're having him face off against Isaac Yankem. And isn't it funny? You go back and watch this and you see who Kane became over the years. Maybe not so much Kane now, but what Kane once was and what Kane used to be. And you see that, sometimes it's about finding the right shtick and the right gimmick for a guy, because a guy is talented, a guy has it, but it got to work. And you gotta have something click and something register and something resonate at some point in time. And again, this was at a time where the WWF was incredibly out of touch and trying to do the corny crap and, doing all these gimmicks where everybody had a real life gig, like Sparkplug Bob Holly was a part of the WWF racing team. And, oh, what the fuck else did you have? Who the hell else am I forgetting? Oh, TL Hopper. Oh, don't even get me started. Isaac Yankem, DDS. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm going to pull your teeth. Oh, shut up. What a shame. But a solid match here, even though it ended really idiotically. This was a good, solid match, and Bret Hart got the most he could out of a young Glenn Jacobson. This match again worked, even if you overlook the corniness of the WWF at this time. And then you get to the classic match, the must-see match from this pay-per-view, and that is another Intercontinental Championship match. Man, SummerSlam, he used to have a great history back in the day of great Intercontinental Championship matches, just phenomenal matches going back to 91 and 92. And yes, I even throw 94 and there's a really good one. Well, here you get to 95 and you got Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental Championship, a ladder match. And this match was awesome. And in some ways, you almost think maybe this match, because of the story it had going into it, knowing that this match had everything going for it and was going to deliver ahead of time, that maybe just like you did at SummerSlam 92, maybe this IC title match should have main evented the show in SummerSlam 95. And that, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't understand what the IC title used to mean, you think you understand what it used to mean, but you didn't live it and experience it at the time. This is what it used to mean. You would have two great workers in there wrestling a lot of times the match of the night, and you had to the point where the IC title was viewed almost as seriously and as almost as important a title as the World Championship. And sometimes the better storylines were involved around the Intercontinental Championship. And in a lot of cases, you could have gotten away with main eventing that Intercontinental Championship match and feud at one of your big shows. And I think here that Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon belonged in the main event. It had the most story going into it. It had so many elements going for it. This should have been the end of the show. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and it is what it is. But what a great match. And, my whole thing is that with all the talk that always comes around WrestleMania 10 and that ladder match for the IC title, who's the real Intercontinental Champion? I always thought that in terms of an actual match, I thought SummerSlam 95, this ladder match for the IC title, was better than the one at WrestleMania 10. Now, you're welcome to chime in here and let me know which one you think was better in the comments, but that's just my opinion. Michaels walks in the champion, he leaves the champion, and in my opinion, it's the better of the two IC title ladder matches between these guys. And then we get to the main event. Like I said, at 94, SummerSlam. You have Jeff Jarrett beat King Mabel in 5 seconds. Or Mabel, anyways. Now it's 95. You turn Mabel heel. He becomes King Mabel. And you have him win King of the Ring. And here he is main eventing SummerSlam against Diesel for the WWF Championship. Mm. 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 At a time where racial tensions were running very high in the country, at a time where a lot of black Americans were feeling increasingly militant about the treatment that they were seeing all throughout this country, and understandably so, Rodney King, O.J. Simpson, what have you, we get to 1995, excuse me, and you have King Mabel. And before that, they were men on a mission. Yep, again, emphasizing just how out of touch the WWF was at the time. And even when you go back and look at it, who's Big Daddy Cool Diesel? Were we supposed to believe he was a fucking truck driver in his spare time? Oh, God. Who knows? Who cares? This is not a match you need to go back and watch. This is not a match you need to go back and see. And frankly, when it comes to this show, it really truly is remembered only, I think, for Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in terms of a positive sense. People look at Bret Hart versus Isaac Yankem and say, poor Bret Hart, he had to fucking wrestle Jerry Lawler's dentist. Undertaker had to wrestle Kama in a casket match that nobody really remembers. Diesel had to wrestle King Mabel for the title in the main event of this show, and a lot of people think about that for mostly bad reasons. And again, you throw in the Barry Horowitz winning, and that's all fine and good, but all the stupid, corny, hokey shit and the stupid, corny, hokey fucking characters on this show. And it just reminds you of why the WWF was in such a bad way in the mid 90s. Because of stupid, corny, hokey shit like this. This was not a great show. This is not a show you need to break your neck to try and go find a way to go back and watch. Except, do yourself a favor. If you love great wrestling and you love great Big Four pay-per-view matches and you love seeing the IC title being featured and profiled in a big way, and perhaps being the most important belt in the company, which it was sometimes or close to it, go watch that ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. You won't be disappointed.